Hello, I'm Jane Hansen, and I'm here to share with you a compelling documentary series that takes an honest and revealing look at substance abuse from the perspectives of those who have struggled with dependency and emerged into recovery. Unspoken, Now Told, Recovery Stories provides viewers with a rare glimpse into each phase of substance abuse. The previously undocumented footage that you're about to watch is part of an ongoing mission to tell stories of substance abuse with the hope that viewers will know there is hope and help, even when things seem at their darkest. Each of these moving vignettes are told in first-person narrative by courageous people willing to share their personal struggles and individual paths to recovery. Their stories have been left unspoken until now.
You know, I was making $400 or $500 a day, and it was gone. My drug dealer would come out from Queens to Patchogue to give me drugs. I was a good client of his, you know? So it just started this vicious cycle again of getting and finding ways and means to get more. But heroin was a different beast. It controlled my every move. I couldn't do anything without it. Heroin consumed my thoughts. It consumed everything about me. It had a hold on me that I'd never experienced, ever.
My whole life was a series of compromises with addiction. I mean, from the very beginning, it was, when you're 9 years old smoking pot, I mean, that's a compromise in and of itself. And then from there, every step that I took where I compromised, it was easier to compromise again.
So I was in the bathroom, and I started washing my hands and my face. And I never even looked in the mirror. And at this point, I really didn't even know the reflection that I had anymore. Because I stopped looking in the mirror a really long time ago. And I had some heroin on me, and I did it, and I felt better. And I felt better immediately. And now, I'm no rocket scientist, but I knew that Sunday morning in July, when I looked at myself in the mirror again after I don't know how long it had been, that I was now addicted to heroin. I knew it, right at that moment. And I knew, because of my previous introduction to some sort of help, in that bathroom, in that moment, every single person that I said I'd never be, I realized I had become. Every single thing that I said I would never do, I did. And it still wasn't even at the extent of what it had went to, right? So I'm now looking at a reflection of a shell of a human being that I didn't even know existed anymore. The only thing that mattered to me was just feeling this feeling. And now I realized that there was no escaping this. And that I had two choices at that point, and I was either going to get help or I was going to die.
So I went to my drug dealer's house, and I stayed there for a little while, and he was telling me that I need help. You know, my drug dealer is telling me I need help. My family was trying to say manage it, you know, which is impossible for me. And I overdosed at my drug dealer's house. My drug dealer had to give me CPR on his bathroom floor. And when he told me that I need help, that's when I got scared. Because why would he want me to get help, you know? An ambulance was not called, unfortunately, but he did revive me. I was blue, he said. He did revive me, though, thankfully enough, you know, because he would be at risk, right? So I'd get into these situations where my life almost doesn't matter if someone else is in a different situation. So he didn't call because he had drugs in his home.
I was supposed to get a scholarship for sports, but in high school, once I started working at that restaurant, and the first time I tried alcohol, literally the first time it hit my lips, I fell in love. It was like something inside of me triggered that I didn't even know I had. It was like, oh, this is it. Like I have arrived, you know, and I wanted that feeling and I wanted more of it. So I was doing well in high school up until, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. I was still doing well academically, but my priorities started to change. So now my priorities, instead of going to practice and worrying about games and my teammates and sports, my priorities were, what are we gonna do this weekend? How are we gonna get alcohol? Where are we gonna drink it? And that's kind of took over my life at a young age. I was 15, 16 years old.
My addiction progressed as basically everybody's does who are living with this disease of substance use disorder. And towards the end of it, living in California, I had been using a lot of cocaine, and then when I ran out of money, I was using a lot of methamphetamines. And I had recently injured my back pretty badly and didn't have any health insurance, so I couldn't sleep from the amphetamines, and my back was constantly in pain. I had herniated a disc, and it was very painful, and so I went to go buy prescription pills in San Francisco in the Tenderloin, and when I got there, I didn't really know that much about opiates or anything like that, and I asked around a little bit, and the going price was $30 for an Oxycontin, a 30 milligram Oxycontin, a blue, and the guy next to him was selling a bag of heroin for $10, and I just did the math and bought the heroin.
All right, so this is where it starts to get pretty dark. So I knew that I was different at a very early age. My mother is of African American descent. My father is Puerto Rican and Italian. So I did a genogram at school recently, right? I'm in school for my CASAC, and I did a genogram for school, and I noticed that there are two entirely separate groups of people in this world: my mother's family and my father's family. And the only link between both sides is me. And then it dawned on me from someone looking at that external, kind of just chart, would say, wow, this person must feel different, must feel just lost. And that was a huge thing for me, always feeling kind of lost, feeling like it didn't really fit in.
Since a young age, my mom always worked in bars, and people were always in and out of my house because she sold drugs. My sister started selling drugs at a young age as well, so it was always around me, and I thought it was disgusting. The smells I smelt, I didn't want to smell. I would avoid them at all costs. And eventually, from watching them and seeing that when they were sad and they would use either drugs or alcohol, they felt better. That was in the back of my mind for when I became upset.
I want to use. So I'm struggling and I want to get high. I got a pocket full of cash. I'm by myself. I need help. And that was the first time I ever truly meant it and truly wanted help. Because I played it out. I didn't want to go back to the insanity that was my life. I wasn't living, I was existing. You know what I mean? Like, there was nothing fun about what I was doing in my life. The fun went out the window when I was 17 years old drinking with friends in the woods. Like, that fun went out the window. Now I was sick and I had a disease and I accepted that fact. So that was the first time I threw my hands up and I surrendered. It was the first time and I meant it.
My eyes were sunken into my face. I was emaciated. You could see my ribs and my bones, and the life was gone from my eyes. There was just nothing left of me. And like when people would see me, the common response was, "You look like you just got out of a concentration camp," that's how severe it was.
My sister, who I'd seen fairly regularly, noticed progressively things were getting a lot worse really fast. So my mom's birthday, my mom and myself went to have lunch at the restaurant I told them I was working at, but I had just gotten fired from. And we sat at the table, and my sister said to me, Lexi, what do you want? And it was the first time I looked at anybody in the eyes and was completely honest. And I said, I just want to be happy. I just knew that I didn't want to feel the way I felt anymore. I didn't want to be sick anymore. I didn't want to be controlled by a substance. I didn't want to wish death on myself and everyone else around me. I wanted to laugh when people told jokes. I wanted to smile in pictures.
I went back outside and I was stuck, but I had a needle in my arm, and the car was locked. I had the windows rolled up, and my mom is banging on the window, screaming and crying that I have a needle in my arm, and how could I? How dare I do that? I was very positive. I was making friends who weren't trying to harm themselves anymore, real friends that only had the best intentions for me. We had good conversation. It wasn't always about our past. We'd go to concerts, we'd go out to eat, food shopping was always fun, and I just found people that were like me with, a common past, but they had the ability to change their life, and that's what kept me going.
That experience when you wake up like Monday morning and you're like, oh my God, I have to go to work? I never have that. It's phenomenal. Everything I do, listen, I still have bad days, goes wrong, people die, bills need to get paid, but the way that the tools that I have to deal with those things are allow me to move through that without really being, without necessarily having to take away my happiness, right? So, yeah, my life's great. It's great. And it's simple. Go to work, I help people, I come home, eat food, develop a relationship with my higher power, pray, meditate, exercise. It's great.
I am so understanding of the process at this point. It has been a process, right? And there is no coincidence that at this point in my life I have been asked to do this, because you wouldn't have gotten anything out of me not that long ago, because the door was shut, right? But I learned, I do not regret the past, nor do I wish to shut the door on it, right? And I no longer look back and say, I wish, right? And I no longer say, this is happening to me or this has happened to me. It happened for me. Because every event, every situation, every time period that has happened in my life has led me up to this moment of gratitude, grace, and dignity, right? So I hold my head high. Right? I don't have the best posture, but I hold my head high, right? And I want to be who God wants me to be.
I'm afforded this beautiful life because of recovery. I am beyond blessed. I have my family back in my life. I have a great job. I have friends that love and trust me. I'm a productive member of society. I just went and voted for a library in my town. It's unbelievable, I'm accountable today. I'm responsible. I show up. I'm a dependable person. 4.5 years ago, I was homeless, shooting heroin, wanting to die. Not even wanting to die, but not knowing how to live. Like I said, it's unbelievable. And now I get to manage a program as well.
At some point, it's more than likely every one of us will be touched in some way by substance abuse. In 2017, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services declared the opioid epidemic as a public health emergency. Opioid overdoses accounted for more than 42,000 deaths in 2016 alone, more than any previous year on record. While prescription varieties of substances, such as fentanyl, have been better regulated since then, access to street versions still remains a major threat. If you or someone you know is struggling with substance abuse, please contact the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration for help. Visit UnspokenNowTold.com for a continuously updated catalog of recovery stories. And we thank you so much for watching.